here you can see this. The idler gear is actually on Timken bearings.
Oh, yeah.
Makes them a lot tougher than the original needle bearings. But I gotta hand make those. Jack Knight used to make them at one time or another, but they don't make them anymore. And they had troubles with their shafts, which I don't, but I redid them. And that's the same way with the race motors. We use the bearings with. Let's see, I don't even have them on here right now. They're down here in this. Well, this is our typical idler gear shaft set up here, so that they basically replace the shaft that goes through it and put it on bearings instead of needle bearings, which are a little weaky. So not that tough setup, but this tapered roller thing has been real great for the street. Just never have any troubles with those going out because of the debris. But like I say, I'm trying to go around that and put the debris or filter it out first, and then put the oil back in the transmission. So that
Did you point out the magnetic pickup?
Yeah, oil plug.
Yeah, on the side.
Oh, I didn't point that out on that transmission that I have right out there.
Yeah.
I put another additional magnet right here in the back of the transmission, that I can pick up stuff that's coming up out of the transmission first. I try and pick up that the same way with my race motors on the strainers in the front. Basically, if you pull the strainers out, I got epoxy. Rare earth magnets, ones that'll pull your teeth out if they're iron. So real good magnets or whatever to keep that clean. Every time you have an opportunity to clean it up before you get to the oil pump, you're a hell of a lot better off, basically. So
Where do you get the magnetic?
I made that.
You can buy them.
Oh,
Jeremy's probably got them.
We stock them.
okay.
They're a rare earth cobalt magnet. I don't know what rare earth cobalt magnet
Well,
means, but that's
cobalt
what it
is
is.
rare earth, and they are.
No, cobalt.
So this
isn't,
just
but
needs to
it's probably got neodymium in it.
Yeah,
They're very strong.
that comes down
magnets.
there. And it's the
Right.
standard center oil pickup.
Oh, so
goes-
this is by, as it passes through here, this
Yeah.
is just pulling in.
yeah, anything that
You
comes up
remove
the
this
pipe.
once in a while.
Even though they have a screen at the bottom of them,
Yeah.
they still let a lot of stuff go by, and you can't afford to let that get into your oil pump.
The ones we sell are serviceable. It looks just like the drain plug,
Mm-hmm.
so you can unscrew it and clean the magnet off and put it back in.
It's like,
That's the way I did too, but it's damn hard to do that over the back of the motor.
Yes, it is.
Is this where a
is
magnet,
that the same
this
with yours?
has a
Or
magnet
hard to
from
get?
the factory it
It's
did?
hard to get.
You're just putting
No.
a better magnet here, or
No, I
what?
used the
what's-
standard.
Out of
I
the
used
factory, what was there?
that little plate that was there,
That's it?
and I drilled it and tapped it and built this little magnet setup.
What was the purpose of this spot here?
That's to hold the
It just had a
pick.
plug.
It's to
Oh, it's
hold
just
the
to hold up the pickup line?
pickup pipe to the
I got it.
transmission case.
I got it.
I built these windage trays because that keeps all the oil down in the gearbox. The gears, when they're running, run this way, which throws all the oil up underneath your motor.
A
If
windage
you're ever
tray
gonna have
is
a foul-
really good idea.
If you ever have a fouled plug, it'll probably be number 3, because that's where the biggest batch of oil is coming up from underneath the motor. Probably be number 3.
What would
You
it
can
foul
keep
the
a-
plug? It just gets up and through the cylinder? Or?
Yeah, and fouls the plug.
I was talking
Well,
to,
fellas.
I think it was one of the Seattle guys, or it was a Canadian guy, I don't know who it was, but they had a gearbox in a Mini, and they hooked an electric motor up to the
Yeah, well,
axles. Who was that? Somebody.
the guy I bought my GT car from.
He filled the gearbox up with oil, and spun it, and it flung oil all across the top of the garage.
No, this guy here built a plexiglass cover, so because he was researching windage trays,
Yes.
and this one here is my version of what he did or whatever it is, because
This is yours, you made this
Yeah.
guy right here, all this?
because you got to make them so they don't get loose.
We sell them. They're on the shelf. And you can bolt them in.
Not as ultimate as this one.
Well,
that's Rev 1, so.
Oh yeah, you pull that out of the barn out back with the screen door? Excellent.
Something like that, but you know, on the dyno, this screen makes horsepower.
Yeah, I know. It's
So-
windage trays are a really good idea, guys.
These
No large
these
permit
guys
to get
here,
through that.
are you have to do that. You
Yeah.
tapped them
Yeah.
for this.
Most
Well, I gotta
cars
drill
don't
them
have a
and
tap
gearbox
them,
at the bottom of the crankshaft.
Yeah.
And these little plates underneath here. It's all
They keep the oil from coming up from the bottom, and then all the screen actually catches the oil coming off the crankshaft.
what is this? Just a weld?
No, that's a rivet. A real rivet.
And then the crank is being oiled by
All
the galleys and all that, right?
Well, I mean, it's spewing oil out, and you need to just catch it up along with,
modern.
you know, keeping the gearbox oil down in the gearbox. Any other questions? How about you, Jeremy? You got any? Morning.
Talk to them about central oil pickups.
Well,
I don't know if you mentioned the central oil pickup since you're there.
well, let's say the standard gearbox has a strainer right over here in the corner. Unless they often, when you're going around a long left-hand corner or right-hand corner, all the gearbox oil has the tendency to run down here, and then all of a sudden you don't have any oil pressure. So a long time ago, we had to, for racing, we had to make these pipes up that went over to the center of the transmission case to pick it up. And that's what this one is, but you can't see it because I got it down below this Windage tray. So instead of being over here in the corner and starving your motor out, going around the corner with the oil going to the other end of the transmission case. And that's always a good idea, even though you get one quart low or whatever, and you go around that long corner, come off the end of Ross Island Bridge, going around this way, and by the time you get to the other end, you'll look over and say, oh my God, no oil pressure. That'll be it. Well, let's see, did I burn my bearings? Yeah, it's okay. You know.
Yeah. Just getting on the freeway. Every freeway you get on, you're making a hard right corner. And without a central oil pickup, the word's absolutely right. You watch your oil pressure. Nobody's watching the gauge. You're getting on the freeway, you're looking at cars. But if
So
you
that's where
Well, I occasionally glance over, and when it's down this way, I go, oh my God, you know,
yeah. Yeah.
whatever.
That's where an AccuSump would be helpful then,
Actually,
or no?
just this center oil pickup is more than enough to take care of the problem.
Whenever we have a motor apart, we always religiously put a central oil pickup in every gearbox.
Yeah, pretty
makes
much a
sense.
good thing just to keep your motor from drying out. It was sort of one of those things that engineers may have overlooked. Again,
How about sloppy shifts? Just doesn't seem to,
are you talking about a Volkswagen or?
no, I'm talking about one of these.
He's got a remote gearbox, so his is.
You got a remote. Well, I'd probably have to say that your bushings on the back of yours wasn't as tight as these here,
Okay,
because the bushings get loose in this shaft because nobody ever greases them.
okay.
They used to have a grease nipple out of here. This one happens to have one in there, but basically nobody ever greases them, and so the bushings get sloppy in there, and that doesn't help anything. And then you got problems in your
Lincoln?
shifting mechanism inside your car, basically, because your socket's this way, and of course if it hasn't been shielded from the top, you get dirt around it. So what it does is you keep a shifting it until the lever, actually the ball of it, gets worn down into the housing. So basically you lose your let's see, you lose all your little plastic cups in there. I got
There's a replaceable or serviceable nylon cup on the ball at the bottom of the shifter. The most common thing, without replacing the bushings here, is this bolt and this bolt are literally loose on these splines. So if you tighten that and tighten that, if you have a helper move the shifter around, and you'll see these dance on the splines.
Okay.
So this is loose, and this is loose, and replace the nylon cup, and you'll have your shifter back.
Of course, you can't see it
The-
because
the-
it's all under the,
The other clue when you do these, you actually can get the bolt through there, one spline off.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Many times I've seen that happen.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
what it comes down to is you gotta be able to put that bolt in there nice and easy and start the threads real easy.
Should
If they
find it.
feel like they resist a little bit or whatever, it's usually a spline off. But it really does make a lot of difference on how your car shifts. Sometimes it doesn't always shift all the way into first gear or whatever, or
Yeah.
second gear.
First
In,
year.
in my moke, I actually put this thing in backwards.
Yeah,
And I
you can
couldn't
do-
put it in reverse. I'm
Yeah.
like, why won't I can't put it in, why can't I put this thing in reverse? I had this thing 180. Well, I mean, obviously you don't have that in your car, but
Yeah, so
you gotta make sure
basically,
that that's correct as well.
basically you need to make sure all this stuff is good and tight. Because other than that, basically, you can run into slop. The other slop that you run into is remember this is the last time you downshifted in the second gear and came around a corner?
Yeah.
You took there and you pull her down like this
Yeah.
and steering it.
Yeah.
You're still pulling on that lever,
Yeah.
remember?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're all
Interesting.
guilty of hanging on to the gear shift lever,
Yeah.
pushing it this way or that way.
Resting your foot on the clutch.
Well, all
Yeah.
you're doing is you're pushing your shift fork into the side of your gear. So all you're
Oh,
doing
so
is
you're- Okay.
creating even more space between your shift hub and your shift fork.
Yeah.
By the time
That
you get
makes sense.
through, instead of your little 15 thousandths clearance or whatever that 5 thousandths clearance slop you have between your shift hub and your fork, you end up with 55 or 60 or something like that slop in
good.
your fork. So then you're supposed to put new forks in. You ever
Oh.
gone out and bought new forks for these things lately?
No.
Well, I haven't either. And well, yeah, I do occasionally, but there's for other reasons. These I don't see any particular reason why you can't just clamp the damn fork in a vise and squeeze them back down
No,
again.
yeah.
Because they're brass. Every time you bend them, it'll get a little bit harder to bend.
Yeah.
So basically, you actually can resize them a bit in a vise, squeezing them down,
Mhm.
which is what I do for myself. The rod change, it has a problem not only at the shift hub, but actually they got these little levers down there in the bottom that make the shift fork shift. Got these little forks that the lever pulls it in and out, and it's got a little knob on it, and it kicks the fork back and forth. And they'll get wear in the shift fork down there, so hell, it has to go this
Oh.
far to be able to even catch up with the shift fork too. So you got two problems down there. Where the remote shift, you only have one problem, and that's the gap on your shift fork.
Okay.
Just think about that the next time you come around a corner. And what am I doing when I got my hand on that gear lever? Kind of hanging on to it, holding it in gear or whatever. Now you're actually just wearing your shift forks out.
Mhm.
You get used to shifting it and let go of your shifter until you need to do it again. You're almost a lot better off because other than that, you're just wearing your own car out.
Mm.
It's a bad habit.
So probably only 4 or 6 of the people in here have Mark 1s or remote gearboxes. The rest of them are all rod change. When we say rod change, that means typically you lift up to put it in reverse, right? So talk to them about the shift shaft seal. The number one oil leak in almost all minis, 9 out of 10 oil leaks, is the shift shaft seal. What we've noticed is that, well, we'll tell a customer, they say, we've got an oil leak. We'll say, well, park your car in reverse. Put the shifter in reverse and tell us if the oil leak is different. Typically, that's the shift shaft seal.
Is that little rubber seal that goes down?
Yeah,
Down
not in
here.
this one, but
Yeah, mine
around
is.
that shaft, basically they do have They do have a aluminum guide thing that they put in there to make that better than some of the earlier ones,
With an
but
O-ring.
other than that, yeah, that's just one of those seals that you have to pry out of there and put new in.
Is it-
And then kind of like your drive housing seals and stuff like that too.
Is it a seal or a
Which
boot?
way is it when I park my car, when I leave it in reverse, I get less or more?
It'll
When-
change, it'll
when
just
you-
be
Just be
different.
just be different.
Yeah,
So
so
that's-
sometimes it will be, because you're putting the rod that goes into the shift shaft in a different position.
Ah.
It'll be best if you just flip your car
So that's
over
not
on
the,
top.
that's not the boot, that's the seal.
It won't
It's
leak
the
out the
seal.
bottom now.
It's such a common problem with minis that Mini Mania sells it as an anti-oil leak kit. It's a shift shaft seal, all right? And it's an aluminum ring with an O-ring, rubber O-ring on the outside of it, and a seal and a dust boot cover.
How easy is that to pull and,
It takes us about an hour. in
so
and
you just
out.
get up underneath, you disconnect the
You have
linkage
to push
and
the
then,
roll pin out,
yeah,
move the shifter rod out of the way,
yeah,
and
and then
then
just,
dig the seal out. Usually they fall out, they're so wore out and crunchy and hard.
mhm.
You know, they've just been gushing oil. Then behind it is that aluminum collar with an O-ring on it. Sometimes that will blow right out with compressed air, and we'll just shoot air at it and it'll pop right out.
Hmm.
If it doesn't, somebody maybe silicone that O-ring, which is a good idea. We'll drill a little hole or
And then-
put a sheet metal screw
and
in
pull
it so
it.
we can pull it out.
I see, cause I
Alright.
noticed my boot is all, is shot out there, so that's probably.
I don't
some
bother
of
with the
things.
oil ring, I just bother with the seal, cause that's what leaks.
Well, we pull that aluminum collar out, we put a new collar with an new O-ring on it, we'll put some right stuff, silicone, sealant on it, pop it back in, push the new seal in, put the dust cover on, put the shift shaft back on, put the roll pin back in.
Nice.
And you also, when you're there, check the roll pin, they're really loosey-goosey, and you know, if that roll pin and that coupler is wore, you'll have a really sloppy shifter as
So
well.
not only do you get like a bit of oil leakage, do you get also a little more slop if that seal is,
No, the seal's just a seal.
It's
It
just a
doesn't have
seal.
anything to do with slop.
Yeah.
The roll pin and the coupler have a lot to do with slop.
yeah,
Yeah, I recommend wiring them too,
Wiring them
yes, those roll pins,
so they can't come out.
because I've got them slide out.
mm,
Even if you just stuck the wire through one side, or through the roll pin and just bent it over one side and
No,
tied it
that's-
up or whatever,
it's easy enough, yeah.
it'll keep those roll pins from falling out on you.
I see a lot of people will drill it out and put a bolt through it. I don't think that's such a good idea. Seven Enterprises sells a quick disconnect that looks really trick. I've never tried one.
I haven't either, although I've been playing with that myself too. I got a setup I made, just pull the clip back and pull it loose. Looking for another zipper for that motor. Make it easier, faster, and quicker to put it in and take it out.
One of the things that I brought, I'll go in my car and grab it for you guys, but I was thinking about, you know, general maintenance and what's important to maintain your Mini and as it wears. What we neglect to talk about a lot is appraised value and insurance. So lately, I'd say prices of Minis have probably tripled in the last 3 to 5 years.
For sure.
Minis have just skyrocketed in value. I've been using the auto appraisal network and I'm getting great appraisals. It's a spiral bound notebook with, you know, 20, 30, 40 pictures and a real market value. And I've been sending that to Haggerty. And I've been getting, I've got my Knightsbridge insured for $45,300. I've got my Orange Roadster insured for 30 grand. I got my Moke insured for 30 grand. And I've got a 97 Japanese domestic market or JDM air conditioned Mini insured for 30 grand. And so I've got $140,000 coverage in 4 cars. I pay $800 a year
That's Haggerty.
from Haggerty.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Yeah. I'll go grab that so you guys can see. You need to get your cars insured for what their real value is. And you're probably underinsured right now because Minis are so expensive.
I boosted